is that Russia didn't just attack our election. They did so with the knowledge of and support of the Trump campaign. That the Trump folks were in on it, that they knew what Russia was doing while they were doing it, and they continued meeting with Russians in knowledge of that activity during the time of the attack.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Benny. You ever seen one of those tragic videos of, like, I don't know, midget falling down the stairs or something, and you're like, oh man, it's kind of sad, but it's also unintentionally hilarious? That is exactly what the corporate press is doing right now with their censorship of Donald Trump. So they've tried to kick Donald Trump off all social media platforms. It didn't work. It has actually backfired. Donald Trump's more popular than ever, and we have the polling and data to prove that. And so what happens then is when Donald Trump is doing something record-breaking or historic, like winning the Iowa caucuses by the largest margin any Republican has ever won the Iowa caucuses by, they try and just censor him. They try and shut down the things Donald Trump is saying or the things Donald Trump is doing. Now, the perfect example of this, and it's been happening a lot lately, is when Donald Trump was indicted. Donald Trump went to a bakery. It was his birthday. He stopped on his way to the airport, goes into a little Cuban pastry shop, and gets happy birthday sung to him. And this is how CNN responded to that deeply innocent and totally human thing that Donald Trump did.
National security laws and then obstructing and refusing to cooperate with the FBI.
Yeah, whatever this spectacle is that's unfolding before us, let's remember what this case is about. Let's remember what this indictment charges. Again, Donald Trump is charged with a series of federal felonies for mishandling the most sensitive government documents that we have and for obstruction of justice, along with Walt Nauta, who is charged with intentionally setting up lies to the grand jury, to the FBI. Any way you look at this, and again, despite whatever may be going on in that restaurant, this case isn't going to be settled legally in a cafe. It's going to be settled in the court based on the facts and law.
The folks in the control room, I don't need to see any more of that. He's trying to turn this in. He's trying to turn it into a spectacle, into a campaign ad. That's enough of that. We've seen it already.
Donald Trump doesn't get to have happy birthday sung to him on his birthday. CNN. So unbelievably triggered. It's so delicious. It's so funny. It's unintentionally funny. And this is something that the media has been doing for a long time. They'll just censor Trump up front. By the way, CNN is the news organization that used to run Donald Trump campaign speeches. Stem to stern was all CNN. Do you remember 2016? 2016, all CNN would do was run Donald Trump speeches. They would cover the whole rally. You could tune right into CNN. It was some of the highest ratings CNN's ever received. And now they are so upset. They're so morally stricken by the Frankenstein of their own creation, which is, of course, the public love and interest in Donald Trump. And that's a monster that is created in part by CNN. So, shove it. MSNBC, same thing. The only reason anyone watches MSNBC is not for love of Donald Trump, I doubt, but for visceral, seething hatred of Donald Trump. And it is because of that MSNBC decided not to totally trigger all of their audience into apoplectic shock and into reaching their shaky little feeble, translucent, soy-filled hands, cortisol pumping through their veins towards the medicine cabinet for another bottle of Xanax. This is what a lib looks. When Donald Trump's on the TV, this is what the lib looks like. They're shaking and they're reaching, please, for the medication. Please. I cannot live in this reality. And so that is the reality that they hide from their viewers. Rachel Maddow and MSNBC are getting just absolutely tore up for this clip. When Donald Trump was giving his victory speech in Iowa, again, a historic night, a historic moment, because Donald Trump won by the largest margin ever, Rachel Maddow decided to declare to the viewers that they weren't allowed to see Donald Trump. They were protecting them from Donald Trump. The winner of the first primary caucus, here's the leader of the opposition party, Rachel Maddow, is afraid of showing you his face or letting you listen to what he's saying. Watch.
Point in the evening, the projected winner of the Iowa caucuses has just started giving his victory speech. We will keep an eye on that as it happens. We will let you know if there's any news made in that speech, if there's anything noteworthy, something substantive and important. The reason I'm saying this is, of course, there is a reason that we and other news organizations have generally stopped giving an unfiltered live platform to remarks by former President Trump. It is not out of spite. It is not a decision that we relish. It is a decision that we regularly revisit. And honestly, earnestly, it is not an easy decision, but there is a cost to us as a news organization of knowingly broadcasting untrue things.
Okay, that's pretty rich. Pretty rich coming from the greatest, the number one, frothing at the mouth, like rabid dog collar on Russia collusion hoaxer. With a straight face, MSNBC's Rachel Maddow explained that she could not air Trump's historic landslide victory speech because of untrue things, even though Maddow broadcast untrue dossier allegations about Trump nonstop for years. Roll the tape.
There is a cost to us as a news organization of knowingly broadcasting untrue things. If you're unvaccinated, you have a much higher chance of getting this newly transmissible variant we had never seen before a couple of weeks ago. There is a cost to us as a news organization of knowingly broadcasting untrue things. And it's the unvaccinated people who it's going to make sick. There is a cost to us as a news organization of knowingly broadcasting untrue things. You really do not want to be the person who gets it and then spreads it to other people. There is a cost to us as a news organization of knowingly broadcasting untrue things. Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. Knowingly broadcasting untrue things. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus. The virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else. Untrue things. It cannot use a vaccinated person as a host to go get more people. Untrue things.
Okay, so that could go on forever. Listen, I'll just stick my editors on that. We'll create like a 49-hour version of that with every topic under the sun. Everything from Russia collusion hoax to Trump impeachments to Trump impeachment number 2 to January 6th. It'd be easier to count the number of true things that MSNBC has broadcast instead of the untrue things that they broadcast. And what cost exactly comes to you by allowing the man who got 75 million votes in the last election to speak on behalf of his voters? It's not out of spite, yet it is. You ding-dong. You complete dork. Rachel Maddow Monday night, coverage of Iowa caucus, announced that their decision is not out of spite to not broadcast the Donald Trump victory speech. Oh, okay. It's not out of spite, huh? Not out of spite. No self-awareness whatsoever. No shame, no conscience. There's a cost to us. The cost. You say you have no spite. Yet, on the same panel that Rachel Maddow was on, you have someone wearing Donald Trump's hair, Joy Reid, who says there are too many white Christians in Iowa. Is this potentially out of spite?
But, you know, I feel like the important sort of data point, and you know, Steve talks about it a lot. He's going to probably talk about it a little more tonight, is that these are white Christians. That this is a state that is overrepresented by white Christians that are going to participate in these caucuses, yes. Especially tonight. Earlier today, reached out to Robbie Jones from the Public Religion Research Institute, knowing that we were going to talk about Iowa. And this is a hyper-evangelical white state. And he said the following to me: Iowa is about 61% white Christian. The country as a whole is approximately 41% white Christian. And in Iowa, we're talking about evangelical white Christians. And he said the following. Because I asked him, what do they get out of supporting Donald Trump? Because he keeps losing, he keeps delivering losses and losses. And he said the following: they see themselves as the rightful inheritors of this country, and Trump has promised to give it back to them. All the things that we think about electability, about, you know, what are people gaming out, or none of that matters when you believe that God has given you this country, that it is yours, and that everyone who is not a white conservative Christian is a fraudulent American.
Later in the same news broadcast, that same anchor, Rachel Maddow, telling Joe Biden's press secretary, Jen Psaki, who inexplicably signed an NBC contract before she left the White House. Nobody said anything. 2 months before she left the White House, she'd already signed with NBC News. Got it? Speaking of somebody who broadcasts untrue things, Jen Psaki, like, we don't have enough ink in all the pens in all the world to write down the number of untrue things Jen Psaki said from the press dies on behalf of Joe Biden. Yet here she is on MSNBC's airwaves, listening to Rachel Maddow calling all Trump supporters fascists. But remember, it's not out of spite.
Picture takeaway from that, and I don't mean to be, again, too dark, as you said, on this, but it is not, if we are worried about the rise of authoritarianism in this country, we are worried about potential rise of fascism in this country, if we're worried about our democracy falling to an authoritarian and potentially fascist form of government, the leader who is trying to do that is part of that equation. Mm-hmm. But people wanting that is a much bigger part of that equation.
Okay, we have a fascism. Okay, what's the definition of fascism? The fusion of corporations with the government. Okay, so how's that not the left? Huh? Show me a corporate board that's like totally Republican. Show me a major company that's on the S&P 500 that's a Republican company. Show me a major law firm or an educational institution that's conservative and backing Donald Trump. Show me that. Show me a entity inside of the federal government that isn't weaponized against Donald Trump and trying to put him in jail currently, right now, for 400 years. The Republicans are fascists. He is like, I know you are, but what am I? I don't know. The insults that you learned as a little kid in the schoolyard apply today. Laura Ingraham and Rand Paul on the cutaway from Donald Trump.
They've been telling us that democracy is in danger if Trump gets in. But how would you describe what they've been doing to us?
Well, you know, democracy is in danger because you realize, Laura, you can't have democracy unless it's filtered through Rachel Maddow. We can't let Donald Trump speak directly to the people. By all means, democracy will only survive if he is channeled and filtered by Rachel Maddow. I mean, to listen to the ridiculous nature of these people who every day blather on about democracy is going to be defeated, we're going to lose democracy, and then the next breath they come out and say, but we must ban Donald Trump from being on the ballot because, God forbid, the American people, we cannot let them have a choice and let them vote for him. So it is a bizarre notion. And they have these convoluted ways of saying, well, we need an electoral process for supporting democracy, which involves sometimes limiting people who are against democracy from being on the ballot. They really are so addled, they can't even really conceive of how ludicrous the things are that they're saying.
There is something, though, that was said loud and clear by Republican caucus goers. And that thing is what Republican caucus goers believe about Joe Biden. What exactly do Republican caucus voters believe about Joe Biden? Well, in a CNN poll that was read live on air by a deeply salty and embittered and sobbing member of the CNN staff, Republican caucus goers, by a tune of 70%, said Joe Biden is illegitimate. Maybe this is why they have to ban the guy who led the movement.
Jake, we are sort of trying to take stock of what does this electorate look like in Iowa tonight. Now, these are early entrance poll results. These are people who arrived at the caucus site early. These numbers will change throughout the night as we do more interviews. But look at this. We asked folks, are you part of the MAGA movement? 53%, a majority of those that we've interviewed thus far say yes, they consider themselves part of the MAGA movement. 41% say no, they're not. We also asked folks, do you think Joe Biden legitimately won the 2020 election? 68%, more than two-thirds of those in these early entrance poll results showing up early to the caucus sites say no, he did not. Wrong.
Oh, look at the face. Oh. Keep banning him. Keep it up. Keep it up. You're making our case for us. It makes it so easy. It makes it so easy. Ladies and gentlemen, they keep trying to figure out how to stop Trump, how to get rid of the MAGA movement. They've done everything. They've thrown it all at the movement. Everything you can possibly assume they could throw at the MAGA movement, they've thrown. Stuff beyond our wildest imaginations. Lock up Trump for 400 years. Why? Because he had documents. Shut up. Because he said march peacefully on January 6th. It's the walk on, don't walk on the grass phenomenon. When there's a sign that says don't walk on the grass, it makes you really want to like have a picnic on that grass. And that's what they're doing. They keep telling you you can't vote for Trump. You can't even see Trump. And you know what that's going to do? Don't walk on the grass. It's going to make people like viscerally not only want to see Trump, but say, what are you hiding from me? Because I know what restrictions mean. I know like when you've restricted me, that makes me very suspicious. And we have a country that loves its freedom. Even the left loves their freedom and do not like to have authoritarian, Orwellian, oligarchical, fascistic lunatics like Rachel Maddow telling them they can't even see Donald Trump's victory speech. What a bunch of absolute jackasses, these people. They will lose because of this. They've gone too far, and it'll be so wonderful to see. We'll be here for you in 2024, broadcasting it all. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe, and stay based.